I walked into the staff lounge to find my personal lunchbox sitting in the trash can with a sign taped to it that said, "Property of the office failure." I stood there in the quiet room with the smell of stale coffee and cleaning supplies, feeling a hot prickling sensation behind my eyes as I realized the bullying had moved from whispers to actual property damage. I have been the top salesperson in this district for 3 years running, but ever since I received the promotion to regional lead over my older colleague, Jim, the office has become a hostile environment where I'm treated like an intruder. I felt a deep sense of isolation as I looked at the ruined container my daughter had given me for my birthday. Jim had been at the company for 15 years and felt that the promotion should have been his by default. Regardless of the fact that my numbers were consistently double his own, he began a subtle campaign of alienation, making sure I was left out of lunch orders and purposely giving me the wrong times for important client calls. I had tried to ignore it, thinking that eventually he would move on or accept the new reality, but seeing my personal belongings in the garbage was a bridge too far. The rest of the team was sitting at the table, looking at their phones and refusing to meet my eyes, which told me that they were either complicit or too afraid of Jim to say anything. I picked my lunchbox out of the trash, wiped it down with a paper towel, and walked over to where Jim was sitting with his feet up on a chair. "Did you have something you wanted to say to me, Jim, or are you only brave enough to communicate through the trash can?" I asked, my voice echoing in the sudden silence of the lounge. He didn't even look up from his newspaper. He just let out a loud, mocking yawn and told me that I should learn to take a joke if I wanted to survive in the big leagues. The rest of the guys chuckled nervously, and I felt a wave of resentment that made my hands shake as I stood over him. I didn't argue with him, and I didn't go to HR right away because I knew he would just claim it was a misunderstanding. Instead, I went back to my desk and pulled the security footage from the lounge, which I had access to as the new regional lead. I watched the video of Jim laughing as he threw my lunch away and taped the sign to the lid, and then I watched him go around the room and tell the other employees that they would be passed over for raises if they talked to me. I didn't just have a bullying problem. I had a manager who was using his seniority to create a toxic culture that was affecting the entire company's performance. I called a mandatory meeting for that afternoon, and I didn't tell anyone what it was about until every single person was seated in the conference room. I played the video on the big screen without saying a word, and the sound of Jim's laughter filled the room while everyone watched him act like a middle school bully. The silence that followed was heavy with an embarrassment that Jim couldn't hide behind his usual bravado. I told the team that as the regional lead, my job was to ensure a professional environment, and that behavior like this was grounds for immediate termination under the company's zero-tolerance policy. Jim tried to apologize, but it was too late for words. I signed the paperwork for Jim's dismissal that evening, and the atmosphere in the office changed almost overnight. Without his influence, the rest of the team began to open up, and we actually started working together as a cohesive unit for the first time in months. I learned that you can't always win people over with kindness, and that sometimes you have to use the authority you've earned to protect yourself and your career. I still have the lunchbox on my desk as a reminder of the